Hello and welcome to the DoneJS Contributors Meeting. Today is not a Friday, it's a Tuesday, November 27th, 2018. My name is Chase Lahara, coming to you from Long Beach, California. We've got a nice little crew today. You guys want to say hi? We've got Josh. Josh, where are you from? You're in Minnesota, is that right?
Yep, I'm in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, okay, cool. Good to see you. And Matt, we've got our foreign import today. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. And Matthew, another local US.
Hello.
Hello. And Thomas, I don't know where you're from. Where are you at?
So at the moment, I'm in Arizona.
Arizona. You're not too far away from me. That's awesome.
Oh.
So today we're going to go through the survey results. We just had a community survey, so we'll talk about the results from that. We'll go through demos of what we've been working on the last couple of weeks and show some stuff off. And then I'm not sure if anyone posted topics in the forum thread, but we'll get to those. And hey, Kevin, we just got started. How's it going? And you're muted, but I'm sure you're saying.
Yeah, it's going good.
There we go.
Through my speakers, I didn't want to bust me.
Yeah, no worries. Cool. Let's start off with the survey results. I'm going to share my screen and present myself. And so this is posted. These are posted in the forums for anyone who wants to look. This is how the rankings came out. Data guide on top. Awesome to see that. The routing solution with only a few votes lower than that. The improved CLJS build performance in watch mode with only a few votes behind that. And then the rest, DOM diffing and transparent rendering were tied, and it goes down from there. We talked about what we think we can take on as a team. I didn't post in here, but we still have a few projects that we're continuing to work on. Matthew's working on on getting DoneJS 3 out the door. I know that's imminent, and we're working on dev tools and some other projects. So we were looking at what we could take on for the next couple months. So we are gonna pick up the data guide. I think that one's exciting. I don't think we have the resources to also pick up the routing solution one right now. So I think what we discussed is doing a little, I can't remember the name that we've been using, but like taking a sprint to go from an outline of what the simplified routing solution could look like, and then actually figuring out what it should look like, because there was a lot of interest in it, and then putting like a more finalized proposal on the next survey. So we're not tackling that, but we're gonna put some thought into it, and then improving the CLJS build performance. We are gonna take that one on too. And that will fill us up for the resources that we have. You guys got any comments on the survey results? Anything that I just said?
I think it's interesting that the routing solution got so many more votes this time than it did last time. That kind of shows that some of these things age like a fine wine. Like, does wine age well, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then some stuff doesn't age quite as well, like the DoneJS CLI stuff. I think people really don't care about that anymore. Like, they seem to get excited about it a little bit before, maybe not so much now.
It's tough when there's...
And people love guides, that's the other thing. If there's a guide on the thing, it's getting voted on.
For sure. Yeah, it's sad because like you get towards the bottom, and like I voted for some of these down here, and it's like, well, they're still really great proposals, but when you have, I mean, not to toot our own horn too loudly, but when you have so many good proposals, it's tough. Cool. Any other comments before we move on? All right, let's get into demos. I'm gonna get us started since I am already sharing my screen. So in the last couple of weeks, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago, I published the DoneJS community update. If you haven't already checked this out, you should. Kind of changed the format to mostly be links to stuff that we've already published or already been working on. So I went through like all of the releases of CanJS that we've made over the last like 5 or 6 months. A lot of good stuff in there. Showing off some stuff. CLJS2, I can't believe since I had been on a client project, CLJS2 had been released and even improved on top of that. I pointed out some discussions in the forums of stuff that I thought was really interesting. Some of it is just like tricks and tips on how to do stuff, or conversation around different topics. More blog posts and videos. Like I said, there's just like a ton of links to awesome stuff. So if you haven't already, definitely check it out. Yeah, and then that kind of segues into DoneJS LA. I hosted one last week. We built the sign up and login form guide. So I updated that for CanJS 5. If you're watching this and you're looking for a way to contribute to the project, we have not updated most of the recipes. All of the code between CanJS 4 and CanJS 5 is pretty similar, but we haven't updated all of the recipes to be in CodePen and import CanJS 5 and all that jazz. So I updated this one. If you haven't checked this one out, I love that it shows how to use fixtures, and I think that fixtures are a underused thing in projects. And if you're watching this and you don't know what fixtures are, definitely check out this guide and check out the can fixture package. That's it for me. And then I guess I'll give status in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be working on a project redesigning the CanJS homepage. We think we can make some changes to it to help attract new users and get them more engaged. So that's a kind of longer term project that I'm going to be working on. And that's it. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Thanks.
Sure. So the biggest thing that I have been working on is IE11 support. So you can see in CanJS 5.17, IE11 is now included in the main CanJS test suite. So it's also added over here in the setting up CanJS page. If you, under guides, if you go to setting up CanJS, you can see this. There's some information down here about IE11 support. There are supported by IE11, mainly can-defined backup is sort of supported if you use a polyfill or if you use it in a specific way, and can observe is not supported at all because it's based on proxies, and proxies are not supported in IE11. So since this came out, we found a few more issues in IE11. So we found that some of the tests weren't running. So I've been working on fixing that up and kind of see we're getting really close to having everything running now. There's just like 4 tests that are failing. We should have a patch out today or tomorrow, probably, with a fix for those. Last IE11 issue, if your app is running in IE11 and you upgrade to CanJS 4, CanJS 5, and you find some issues, please let us know. Open some issues. The other thing that I've been working on is for the CanJS panel that we're going to add to DevTools. So you can, if you're interested in that, you can go to this issue in DevTools, issue number 15. There's a few design ideas for what this is going to look like. We're kind of honing in on something that's basically like a component tree on the left, and then a set of panels on the right, normal DevTools that'll have these little drop downs for different things. And then starting off, we'll just probably have like the view model editor, and then we'll add the breakpoints probably second to that. So if you're interested in that, please take a look at this issue, add some comments, and let us know this week.
Sweet. Thank you. Sorry, everyone froze for me, so I'm having connection issues.
Jason?
Yeah, can you
hear? Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We're with you.
Matthew, are you ready to go next?
Yeah, I can go. So I've been working on DoneJS 3. Everybody knows it's very, very close. Actually, I almost released it like it's been almost a couple weeks back now. It's like I was in the middle of releasing it. Actually, everything's released. Like DoneSSR 3.0 is released. There actually weren't a whole lot of packages that changed, but like DoneSSR, DoneServe, those are all on 3.0. The only thing that's not on 3.0 is the main DoneJS package. So you can't actually generate a DoneJS app currently, DoneJS 3 app. So if you install DoneJS, you're still getting a 2.0 app at this point. So yeah, very close. Like I said, I was gonna release it, but I also had a vacation coming up, so I was talked out of releasing it right before my vacation. I think it would have gone fine. But anyways, I'm looking to release that in the next couple of days, hopefully tomorrow. Just kind of catching up on things and making sure everything works, and there hasn't been any critical stuff come up in the meantime. The other thing, I talked to Mark. Oh, this is not the right one. Mark Stahl brought up he brought up a bug last week, a tree shaking related bug, and there have been several tree shaking bugs that people have found. So the bug he discovered here was that if you're importing an ES module, in this case, he's importing it in a stash file, and stash files get converted to AMD modules. And when that happens, essentially we should say that this module, because it's an AMD module, because this is an AMD module, I should say, that this module, we can't tree shake anything. We have to just kind of import everything because we don't know what is really used. And that wasn't working. And the bug here was when we initially parse ES modules, we do tree shaking in multiple passes. The first time when we first load the file and Babel runs and it does its usual transformations, we do tree shaking at that time. And when we do tree shaking there, we check to see if any parent modules are not ES modules. And if they're not, then we know that hey, we can't really tree shake this thing. But what can also happen, or what often does happen, is you tree shake a module, and during the normal still loading process, that module gets imported again. It has a new parent that didn't exist before. So every time there's a new parent, we have to kind of recheck everything. And how that works is that it starts from a module like this module, and it looks at its parents, and it sees what it imports, and it sees, is anything using my imports? Are there any new exports that are used? And it kind of walks all the way up the tree because it has to, export star. Stuff can be kind of further up the tree, which is kind of weird. So yeah, when that happens, kind of on the second pass of tree shaking, we weren't properly checking for non-ES modules. So I think I can show the PR. It's a relatively easy fix. There's this function called walk exports, and what it does is it's just a while loop that kind of walks up a module's dependency parents, and it checks to see what it exports. And that's kind of what it does. If you return it, the return values is used to indicate that all exports are used. So we just needed to see, if the parent is an ES module and it's one of the immediate parents. Go ahead and return true. That tells the system that everything's being used, and so don't try to tree shake this. Previously, it was kind of throwing when it did this part, and this part only applies to ES modules. So this didn't exist. This is undefined. So, anyways, I have a PR for that. I'm having some Sauce Lab issues, so I might talk to you, Kevin. I don't know if you've experienced Sauce Lab stuff recently, but. Anyways, this will be going in today, and I think it's good. I'm kind of glad that Steel Tools was voted. That Steel Tools issue was voted up. because that's going to give me a chance to work on more. Still, I know there's been several tree shaking related issues that people have discovered, so that'll give me a chance to work on all that. So that's good. That's all for me.
Sweet. Thanks, Matthew. Matt or Thomas, do you guys have anything you want to show off? Maybe. Thomas, I know you've been working on some documentation updates. Have those been published?
Yeah. So pretty much all I've been working on is documentation updates, and it's just sort of getting it to this basic level where we have these rich code pinnable examples, so you can just go in here and play around. The really, I suppose the cool thing about all of this is that when you do get to like open something like this and move around, you can actually see more or less how everything interacts. As you were saying earlier, CodePen is really powerful. The other thing that I'll be focusing on for the next few weeks, so I've been told, if not the next few days, is trying to get a lot of these packages using Doco to just document, further document the code. That's pretty much all I have.
Yeah, Docker is used for like taking the like comments that are in code of like how stuff works. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. Matt, do you have any bugs that you can show off that are fixed now?
I've got one that I'm working on now. Am I presenting?
Yep. Or I just presented, or you're not sharing your screen. Sorry, I presented you, but you're not sharing your screen.
This one.
Yeah, if you can show off some bugs you fixed recently and what you're working on.
So the one I'm currently working on is this one, the onClick value 2 bug. There was a couple of issues that this had around it, which have been pushed out, but the last one I'm working on now is getting the value to update when you click. So what was happening was, since Cam 4, the button attribute didn't have, we wasn't getting the value from a button form element. So that was one of the issues. And the other issue was related to can bind initializing the value immediately. And then we had issue with the value not changing. So when it was initialized, the can attribute observable was being initially set to 5. So when the click was happening, it was checking its previous value of 5 against its new value, which was 5. So it wasn't firing an update to change B. So that's one of the issues that I'm working on now. So now just fire event every time to update it. So I'm just looking at some changes to that to finish that off. And that's about it for me.
Cool. You also fixed some bugs in the last couple of weeks, right?
There's a couple related to this one. What else? Where is that forum? What else did I do? It's not. Yeah.
That man is so modest. Doesn't want to show off his doesn't
want to. Yeah, he just doesn't want to give it up and show it.
I was on and off clients, so it's I keep forgetting what I haven't done, what has and hasn't been spoken about. So this one is using bracket expressions with the 2 binding That was quite a nice fix. That was, when was that published? A week ago. So that was quite nice. And then firing a add event rather than an update. When I define that is set. So there's been a couple. Oh, and this one was a good one. So there was an issue with in Edge that a component was being rendered multiple times. In fact, I think Jason created a code.
Yeah, in Chrome, you'll just see
it. Yeah, isn't going to show it. Yeah. So in Edge, that gets printed out twice. So it was what was? Where's the issue? So it was an issue with the tag handler being called multiple times, basically, because in Chrome it's treated differently because we've got what do you call it?
Custom elements.
What's that? Sorry.
Because we've got custom elements.
That's the one. Custom elements. I was going to say. But yeah. So the path's slightly different, and it was checking if it had already been rendered, but it wasn't quite the same in the code path when there wasn't custom elements. So that fixed that issue, which I think somebody, community member, is the issue for that. So that's quite a nice fix.
And that's released. That's already out.
I merged it and published it today. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, awesome. It's published. It's not in CanJS yet, but it'll be in CanJS today when I publish the IE fix.
Cool.
Sweet. Awesome. Cool. Thanks for showing off. Josh, I know you just joined the team. You probably don't have anything to show off yet.
Yep. Nope. I'm just going to be a guide guinea pig here pretty soon. So hopefully we'll get some of those bugs out of the guides and make them better.
Yeah, sounds good. Cool. I think that's it for demos. Did anyone post any topics that they wanted to discuss? Don't think I saw any. Any super nerdy topics? Any bike shedding? Any?
I got one.
All right.
Just thought of this. Okay, let me share my screen. Maybe I can find the issue. Hold on. This is Justin's idea, so too bad he's not here to discuss it. But that's his problem, not my problem. So we'll discuss it anyways. So we're kind of thinking about a solution to this problem that this is a solution. This is not really a problem. So someone, how do I describe this? Let me go to a DoneJS. What is this? Let me go to DoneJS chat or something like that. So problem essentially that you have, it's kind of a pattern problem, is that you have this head and you have a title, and what you usually do is you have, you got page components, so you're going to have a couple of components. You're on, example is DoneJS chat, you're on the main page, you might want the title to say homepage, and when you're on the chat page, you might want it to say chat, but in order to do that, now you've got to, and we don't actually do that in this example, you need to pass title down to your child component and have that child component manipulate title. That's not too bad, right? But then a lot of times you have more stuff in the head. Like, you might have some metadata, Facebook-y kind of stuff that you want to stick in there. You might want to have, whatever, it's other types of stuff that goes in the head. And so because it becomes more problematic to try to do that, because you have this situation where you have kind of an outer stash file which controls your entire page, but really the component is just the thing that knows the answer to that question, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, and there's also the case of like 404s as well, or like, you know, status code kind of stuff too, where a lot of times the component is the thing that knows, is this a valid URL? Are we at a valid place? Because maybe like, you know, you pass it an ID and it's going to do a database request to determine if the ID is correct. And if it's not, then you want to have a 404. So just situations, I guess I would say, where the component knows more about the page than the page does, if that makes sense. It's kind of, I mean, it's a really common thing. Is we write these components, these page components, as, you know, almost their own little app into themselves. So
yeah, I'm really glad you're bringing this issue up, because I've like the thing that I've always done is what you mentioned earlier, which is have the properties on the components and then like do a one-way binding out to the app state, but then you're putting like more stuff in your app state, and like sometimes you just need title, sometimes you need that like social graph, whatever, and yeah, it's kind of a mess.
Yeah, exactly. So someone brought this up. We discussed kind of a three-ish different ways, and they're kind of stacked according to implementation ease, I guess, if you will, how easy they would be to implement. So yeah, this is a common thing. Is you gotta do like this. Hey, if the page is cart, then I'm gonna put the title cart, or you can, you know, pass the data down. But then you kind of have to do the same thing here. So there's kind of a couple of possible solutions. One is that we could add the template to kind of the component definition. Now I think this already works. Is that when you call a component extend, all of this stuff, this object basically gets put on the component on the cart prototype. And because it's on the cart prototype, that means a, you know, like a stash file could actually, in theory, I don't know if this actually works now, but it should work and could be made to work. Is that it could just call page component.headView, because headView is on the prototype, and then it could pass in like the page component's view model. You could do it that way. Now, you know, this is easy, very easy to implement. It's kind of straightforward. It's kind of, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. I can't really think of a downside for it. It's kind of hard. I don't get, because I'd say it's kind of advanced a little bit. It's not really, I mean, you know, it's using the plumbings of CanJS. It's using the stuff CanJS already does. But it's not like an elegant API, I guess you will. You know what I mean? Like people could already, this might already work actually. Probably doesn't, but it might. So it's like something people could already be doing, but they're not, because why would you think to do that? You know what I mean? But it'd be a pretty simple, and if we put in guides, and people would know to do that, and it would be fixed. Anyways, but anyways, let me just continue. Another idea, which is pretty cool, is like make it possible to access. This one definitely doesn't work today. Make it possible to access inline partials from kind of the outside. So the idea here is that in your components view, you'd create a partial, maybe like, you know, just by convention, you might call it an inline partial, call it head, and then kind of the same way on the. This is very similar to the other idea. Is the outer template would it would say page component.view.head. So basically what happens here is that these inline partials get put as functions on the view. So this one's, it's the advantage of this way over the last way is that you can, in this way, you need to create another template. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to add another .stash file that's for your head stuff. So it's not co-located Whereas in this method, you're kind of putting all of your template stuff in the same template. So that's kind of the advantage there. Otherwise, it's very similar.
Yeah, that's interesting because it reads more like just a plain HTML file when you actually have like a head inline partial at the top and then the rest of the like body content below.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting pattern.
Yeah, it's so that's another way. It's like I said, it's very similar. It's very similar in that the outer component kind of has to wire everything together. The last idea is portals. Portals are an idea that a few other frameworks have. What a portal is, this is more different than the other two. A portal actually gives you control over where something's rendered. So we'd create a new helper called portal. You could pass it an element. So here we're adding the head, the document head on the view model, and the portal is going to render its inner template within that element, if that makes sense. So again, this is giving you control within your view, that you can say, I want to portal this to the head, or this is useful for other scenarios as well. Like, for example, modals. A lot of times modals need to be on the body, but you want to set up your modal within your template. So you could like portal something somewhere else is kind of the idea there. So the nice thing about this way, and why I kind of prefer it myself, is in these other two ways, the outer templates still do have control over what goes in the head. Like they're the ones that set it all up. So they only know that there's a page component and that we want to render its head view. But there might be like conditions where you don't want to render the head. So with portals, you could actually wrap this inside of an if or something. You know what I mean? Like only portal this if we just came from a different page, or I don't know. I can't think of a realistic scenario, but there might be cases. So you kind of get the full control of Stash. It kind of gives all control to the component to do what it needs to do, without the outer component having any say in it whatsoever. But maybe you don't like that. Maybe you don't want the component to have that much control, and you want to prevent it from doing that. And in that case, maybe you don't favor the portal idea quite as much. Yeah, so in terms of implementation ease, I would say this one's the easiest, as it might already work. We just haven't tried it. And then these other two, I don't know, probably equally. But yeah, so that's the idea, is this kind of inverted templates is what we're calling them. If you have an opinion about this, I don't remember if I don't think there is an issue. There's just this forum post. But we might be working on this relatively soon.
Hey, Matthew, how you doing?
Oh, there you are. How's it going? I don't know, did you miss all of that, or did you catch any of it?
Here, and it inspired me to throw out even another crazy idea at you.
All right.
I'm sharing it on my screen.
Okay.
I don't know if this would work at all, but I was just like, we've kind of always thought that like the done auto render is a bit awkward, and how we're kind of passing messages back and forth from node land into our view model and our view. And I don't know, I just wonder if there's a way that like the main would just become a normal component, but that component would always call done auto render and essentially pass it some, common areas, and then done auto render would do its thing, and it could communicate through bindings like whatever the environment or the status code or 404, you know, it's got its information from Node, which you can kind of then like pluck out and, you know, like what is it? Is it just status that we get from? What's some of the things like the 404? How do we communicate that as status or what?
Status code.
Status code, right? Then we could just do like, well, we want that to be bound to our, you know, our this.status code, whatever it is on the, you know, if there's templates inside here, we can communicate them that way. But I don't know. This is just another random way, and I wonder if there's like ways we could make it easier to like mock done auto render, so that like, okay, well, if you're in a non, you know, you don't want server side rendering and all of that stuff, and it gets a little bit easier because this is almost like a no op component then that just like renders title. It just can move title to the head to where it belongs. I don't know. This is just I thought about this right now while you were talking through these options is just like another possible approach.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, yeah. Well,
I don't know. You don't have to think. You don't have to have any thoughts about this yet because I don't know. I haven't even thought through it yet.
This seems like something different than done on a render. I'd probably call it something different, but it seems like a replacement for done on a render, which we definitely want to have a replacement. We have, you know, there's some issue in DoneJS about that. I don't know. I don't dislike it. Yeah.
I'm just put this in my back pocket for a little bit.
Okay.
Anyways,
it's an interesting idea. I wonder if it would work. I guess it would.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why, like, I haven't thought through the implications in terms of like how SSR works, if this is even doable, because you essentially have to still render my app, but you would always expect like this to be the. It's almost like your view. I don't know. It's almost like you need like an inverse.
Well, all done already does is like inject stuff into the body and into the head. So if this done auto render was like a component or something instead of being what it is now, it would still do that. It would still do what it's supposed to do. What if there's two done auto renders at this? I mean, I guess that
You have to deal with
exists anyways. Is that if you with portals or any of the other, there could be multiple, and then you get conflicts, and I don't know what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we're never actually like putting the my app component into the page when it's using done auto render, and like I would probably make it so done auto render could somehow see that if like any other additional HTML was put in here, like it's gonna freak out at you. Because there's never going to be a my app element in the page. It expects just done auto render is the only element inside my app, and then it just takes care of positioning everything. And the way done SSR would work, at that point, it'd have to find my app, just create an instance of the view model, and render it with the view, assuming done auto render is kind of already there, ready to do everything that should be done. I don't even know if that's possible. But.
Yeah.
It'd just be like, just add this to the HTML tag. I don't know. Anyway,
so this kind of gets rid of the application view model, right? Well, I guess each component is its own application.
I would say this is the application view model.
Is this like a page component, or what is it? Is this?
No, this is the application view model, and like inside of here, the part of the body and the head. And we would just only allow people to write to the body and the head, and then like all the steel stuff and things like that could essentially be hidden.
But don't you have the same problem? I mean, you still have to. How do you know what the title needs to be when you're on page chat?
Oh yeah, this you're right. This doesn't actually fix that problem that you were just talking about at all. This is just something else then entirely. I guess that's fine.
A different way to do it.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, that's what I said. We don't need to talk about this. I'm sorry for distracting. I thought it might be related, but
no, it's kind of a cool idea though. We don't have enough things that use the canned templates, so I think we should try to find more uses for those. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, anyways, those are two somewhat related ideas. But yeah, they're in the check out the forums. There's an issue. Like I said, we might be working on it soonish, so I'll get your opinions in.
Cool. Thanks, Matthew. Justin, welcome to the party, by the way. Glad you could make it.
Glad to be here.
We were looking for if we had any topics, anything that we wanted to discuss. So Matthew brought that up. Anything before we go?
No, we're working on. I just talked with Ryan about the data guide. Now is a really good time for all those people who voted on the data guide to add your use cases that you find confusing. Nobody has. So if nobody else writes anything, the data guide is just going to be the things that I find interesting and probably won't be useful for you. So please get them in.
Good call to action. I like it. Cool. If that's it, then I'm going to thank everyone for watching. Encourage people to like and subscribe. Our schedule's been a little bit off, but we should be back next Friday. I don't know what day that is, but we'll be back next Friday at our regular time for another contributors meeting. Until then, thanks, guys. See you later. Hey.